Welcome to this special series introduction episode here on Daily Dose of Aramaic. I'm your host, Scott Callahan. If you've been following us recently, you know that we've read through Genesis 1:1 to 2:4 in Targum Onkelos, Pseudo-Jonathan, and Neophiti. Now we know that these are three different dialects, where Onkelos was Jewish literary Aramaic, Pseudo-Jonathan, late Jewish literary Aramaic, and then Neophiti, Jewish Palestinian Aramaic. And so we not only noted differences in content between these targums, but also grammar and syntax issues that varied across these dialects. So this comparative study is detail-oriented and rich in being able to understand the Aramaic language better. So I'm excited to announce our next series. We're going to be reading the Ten Commandments in Exodus chapter 20. It is hard to underestimate the influence of the Ten Commandments in world history because of its impact on Judaism and Christianity. To start off, let me show you. I taught for many years in Chinese-speaking contexts in Asia, and I wanted to show you that my students had given me the Ten Commandments, where you have the Hebrew, if you can see the detail on this, above, and it's abbreviations of each of the commandments, with the Chinese text of each of the commandments going down both sides of the tablets. So this proudly sits upon my bookshelf, reminding me of those fruitful years of theological education. You can reflect on what the Ten Commandments have meant for you as we do this study. So let me show you a few things about the Ten Commandments that are going to be interesting as we look at the Targums. So here we have the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia page for Exodus 20. Let's make it bigger and just look at Exodus 20. Now there's something really special about the Ten Commandments, both here and in the Deuteronomy version. And if you look starting in verse 2, you'll see two different sets of accents, meaning many more accents than what you expect normally. So what's going on here? Well, the Cohen and Friedman article that I'm citing suggests that the accents in red are meant for the public reading of the Ten Commandments text, whereas the accents in green, and when there is not one in green for a word, it would incorporate the red one, that's for the private reading. And the result of using these different sets of accents for different occasions is actually in the private reading of the Ten Commandments. Commandment 6 through 9 are read together instead of separately in separate verses. So we will see that, interestingly, be something that is a key fact in our reading of the Targums. So I wanted to show that first, and then now let me show you 4Q41. The Ten Commandments in their Deuteronomy edition are present in full in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And you'll notice there on the bottom, Anoki Adonai Elohecha. I am the Lord your God. And that's the beginning of the Ten Commandments. You'll notice the lemor infinitive construct of Aleph Mem Resh beforehand. And even though it appears in the previous verse, the scribe placed it next to the direct quote. And it's functioning, of course, as a direct speech marker. Interesting. Well, what's going to be different about our reading of the Ten Commandments from our reading of the Targums previously, reading Genesis? Well, what I'd like to do is focus specifically on Onkelos and Pseudo-Jonathan, with a nice surprise at the end, when we get to the end of the Ten Commandments. And actually this time place them on the same screen. So you'll notice right now I'm showing you Exodus 20 verse 1, where we're going to place Targum Onkelos in the same size as the Masoretic text when we examine Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, so that we're going to be able to see even more effectively the similarities with the Targums between each other, as well as similarities and differences with the Hebrew text. So I'm very excited to begin this series with you. Please stick with it. Send in your comments via the YouTube comment function, and let's interact about this foundational scripture for the history of the world here on Daily Dose of Aramaic.